Have you ever looked at your bank account and thought to this whole adulting thing? Yeah, me neither yourself. Wow, I'm really crushing. Most of us feel like we're perpetually one unexpected expense away from financial disaster. Your car makes that weird noise again. Your phone screen decides to turn into modern art. Or your landlord mentions the dreaded words maintenance fee. And suddenly you're questioning every financial decision you've ever made since you bought that overpriced coffee 3 weeks ago. But here's something that might surprise you. You could actually be doing much better financially than you realize. While you're busy worrying about whether you can afford groceries and rent in the same week, you might already be ahead of the majority of people around you. The problem is we're terrible at recognizing our own financial progress, especially when social media constantly shows us people apparently living their best life on what seems like unlimited budgets. My of financial health, not the fake ones that get name as Zach, and I help people understand the real signs plastered all over Instagram. If you're interested in discovering whether you're actually doing better than you think, make sure to subscribe to the channel and hit the like button if this information helps you see your situation more clearly. The truth is, most people have a completely distorted view of what financial success actually looks like. We think it means driving expensive cars, taking exotic vacations, or having enough money to buy whatever we want whenever we want it. But real financial stability is much more boring and much more achievable than the flashy lifestyle we see online. It's about having systems in place, making consistent progress, and avoiding the financial traps that keep most people stuck. Today, I'm going to walk you through 9 specific indicators that you're doing well financially, even if your bank account doesn't make you feel like a millionaire. Some of these signs might shock you because they're the complete opposite of what most people think wealth looks like. Others will help you realize that those small, seemingly insignificant financial habits you've developed are actually setting you up for long-term success. Before we dive into the specific signs, let me paint you a picture of what most people's financial lives actually look like. According to recent studies, 65% of consumers currently live paycheck to paycheck, with insufficient income being the primary reason cited by 35% of respondents. Think about that for a moment. The majority of working Americans couldn't handle a simple car repair, medical bill, or appliance replacement without throwing their entire month into financial chaos. Meanwhile, these same people might be driving cars with monthly payments that eat up 20% of their income, living in apartments they can barely afford, and spending money on things they don't need with money they don't have to impress people they don't even like. This is what passes for normal in our society, which explains why recognizing actual financial progress can be so difficult. The first sign you're richer than you think is probably the most boring one, but it's also the most important. You live below your means consistently without it feeling like deprivation. I know, this sounds like the bare minimum of being a functional adult, but here's the thing. If you can maintain a lifestyle that costs less than you earn month after month without constantly feeling like you're sacrificing everything portion of the population, this isn't just about having enough money and you're enjoyable. You're already ahead of a significant framework that allows you to find satisfaction in an account. It's about having developed the psychological lifestyle that doesn't consume your entire income. When you can pay for housing, food, transportation, and basic entertainment while still having money left over, you've achieved something that millions of people struggle with every single month. Consider Sarah, a 28-year-old marketing coordinator who earns $52,000 annually, but has managed to maintain the same lifestyle she had when earning $38,000 3 years ago. While her colleagues upgraded their apartments and cars with each promotion, Sarah continued living in her modest one-bedroom apartment and driving her reliable Honda Civic. Instead of lifestyle inflation consuming her raises, she automatically directs the additional income to her savings and investment accounts. Her friends sometimes joke that she could afford to live a little, but Sarah has created a $400 monthly surplus that she splits between emergency savings and her retirement account. This disciplined approach means she's building wealth at a rate that surprises even her. Her net worth has grown from negative $15,000 in student loans to positive 25,000 in just 3 years. While her lifestyle doesn't scream luxury, this financial discipline puts her ahead of the majority of her peers who live paycheck to paycheck despite similar or even higher incomes. The second sign you're doing better than you think relates to your relationship financial surprises without relying on credit cards or with unexpected expenses. You can handle borrowing money. This might sound like basic adult functionality, but the statistics tell a different story. According to recent research, nearly 37% of Americans can't cover an emergency expense of more than $400. $400. That's less than most people spend on their monthly car payment. Yet, it represents a financial catastrophe for more than 1/3 of working adults. If you have enough savings set aside that a broken appliance, car repair, or medical bill doesn't send you into panic mode, you possess something incredibly valuable that most people simply don't have. This emergency preparedness represents more than just money in the bank. It's a form of financial insurance that allows you to make better decisions when problems arise. Instead of taking the first repair quote you receive or accepting whatever financing terms are offered, you have the luxury of shopping around, comparing options, and choosing solutions based on quality rather than desperation. The psychological benefits of this financial cushion extend far beyond the monetary value. When you know you can handle unexpected expenses, you sleep better at night. You don't spend mental energy worrying about what might happen if something goes wrong. This peace of mind is a form of wealth that can't be easily quantified, but dramatically improves your quality of life. The third sign involves your relationship with debt, specifically your ability to avoid or eliminate high-interest obligations. If you've managed to pay off never accumulated significant consumer debt in the first place, you're operating credit cards, avoid student loan debt, or simply from a position of strength that many people never achieve. Take Michael, a 35-year-old teacher who represents the power of debt freedom as a wealth indicator. 3 years ago, he was drowning in $45,000 of combined student loans and credit card debt, making minimum payments that barely touched the principal balances. Through a combination of side tutoring work, strict budgeting, and systematic debt elimination, Michael paid off all his non-mortgage thousand hasn't changed dramatically, his monthly debt. While his annual salary of $48 debt freedom allowed him to redirect those payments, cash flow improved by $850 once he eliminated debt payments. This toward building a 6-month emergency fund and maximizing his retirement contributions. Friends and family see Michael driving the same car and living in the same apartment. But his financial position has transformed completely. Without debt payments consuming his income, Michael now has options. He can take summer breaks without financial stress, pursue additional education, or handle unexpected expenses without panic. His debt-free status represents a form of wealth that many higher-earning individuals with significant debt obligations cannot access, demonstrating how financial freedom is often more valuable than higher income. The fourth sign you're richer than you think involves your investment behavior and understanding of compound interest. If you're regularly contributing to retirement accounts or investment portfolios, even with modest amounts, you're harnessing one of the most powerful wealth-building tools available. The mathematical reality of compound interest means that early investors possess a tremendous advantage that often goes unrecognized until later in life. Jennifer, a 29-year-old graphic designer, exemplifies how consistent investment behavior creates hidden wealth. Starting at age 23 with her first job paying $35,000, she committed to contributing 15% of her income to her company's retirement plan, even when it meant eating ramen and having roommates. 6 years later, earning $58,000, Jennifer has maintained that contribution rate while her account balance has grown to $47,000. Using compound interest calculations, if Jennifer continues this pattern with 7% average annual returns, she's on track to have over $1.2 million by age 65. Her friends see someone who still, but Jennifer possesses something far more, shops at Target and drives a used car, while her peers debate whether they can valuable. Time and compound interest working in her favor the most powerful wealth building afford to invest, Jennifer has already Harn tool available. Her modest lifestyle masks the reality that she's likely to become a millionaire through consistent, automated investing behavior. This demonstrates how disciplined investment habits, even wealth that compounds exponentially over time with modest amounts, represent a form of often invisible to casual observers, but incredibly powerful in long-term wealth creation. If you're starting to realize, make sure to subscribe to the channel because you might be doing better financially than you thought were just getting started. I've got 4 more signs that will completely change how you view your financial situation, plus eye these strengths. I'll show you exactly how to build on the 5th sign, you're wealthier than you realize, is that you make financial decisions based on value rather than just affordability. This might seem like a subtle distinction, but it represents a fundamental shift in financial thinking that separates wealth builders from chronic strugglers. Instead of asking whether you can technically make the monthly payments on something, you find yourself considering whether purchases actually add genuine value to your life. When people are financially stressed, they often make decisions based purely on cash flow. Can I squeeze this expense into my budget this month? Can I handle this payment until payday? But when you have financial breathing room, you start asking much better questions. Will this purchase serve a real purpose? Am I buying this because I genuinely need it, or because I'm trying to fill some emotional void? This shift in decision-making indicates that you've moved beyond survival mode into strategic thinking. You have the luxury of being selective about where your money goes instead of just trying to keep your head above water. This selectivity is actually a sophisticated form of wealth because it prevents the countless small financial mistakes that keep most people stuck in paycheck-to-paycheck cycles. The 6th sign involves your relationship with financial planning and goal setting. If you have any kind of written financial plan, even a loose roadmap with basic and incredibly rare territory budgets or retirement targets, your operating found that only 30. A recent study, 6% of Americans have written financial plans, which means having even basic financial goals puts you ahead of nearly 2/3 of the population. This planning mindset separates wealth builders from consumers because it demonstrates the ability to delay gratification and think strategically about money. Most people operate in what I call financial reaction mode. They earn money, spend money, and deal with whatever consequences arise. But if you're setting targets and working systematically toward achieving them, you're playing an entirely different game. Your financial goals don't need to be elaborate or perfectly calculating to save ad. Maybe you're a certain amount by the end of the year, or you've decided to eliminate a specific debt within 18 months. The existence of these targets indicates forward thinking that correlates strongly with long-term wealth accumulation. You're not just surviving financially, you're actively building something. The 7th sign you're richer than you think is that you don't lose sleep over money regularly. Financial stress has a way of creeping into every aspect of your life. It affects your relationships, your work performance, your health, and definitely your ability to rest peacefully at night. If you can go to bed without your mind racing through financial worst-case scenarios, that represents solid financial foundations. This doesn't mean you never think about money or that you don't have financial concerns. It means that money isn't a constant source of anxieties and panic consuming your mental energy. You might prefer to have more of it, and you certainly have financial goals you're working toward, but you're not genuinely worried about your ability to handle basic obligations or unexpected expenses. Around % of Americans say 57 finances are the top cause of stress in their lives, with depression due to financial uncertainty affecting over half of younger adults. If you're not part of these statistics, if money concerns aren't dominating your emotional landscape, you've achieved something that the majority of people struggle with daily. The 8th sign involves your net worth compared to national averages, even if you've never calculated it precisely. Net worth is simply what you own minus what you owe. And if your assets exceed your debts by any meaningful amount, you're ahead of millions of Americans who have negative net worth due to overwhelming debt obligations. The median net worth for Americans varies dramatically by age, but if you're in your 30s and have accumulated more than $135,000 in total assets minus debts, you're performing better than half of your age group. If you're in your 40s and approaching or exceeding 247,000 in net worth, you're outpacing the median for that demographic. But they include numbers might seem high everything. Your home equity if you own property, retirement account balances, savings, investments, even the value of your car minus any loans against it. Many people who feel financially behind actually discover they're meeting or exceeding these benchmarks when they calculate their complete financial picture. The ninth and final sign you're richer than you think is perhaps the most important one. You have choices when problems arise instead of just enduring whatever life throws at you. When something breaks, when opportunities present themselves, when changes need to be made, you can actually decide between then accepting multiple options, This, whatever circumstances force upon, might sound trivial until you remember what it feels like to have no options. When your only choice is to suffer through problems because you literally cannot afford alternatives, every minor setback becomes a major crisis. Having financial options doesn't mean you're wealthy in the traditional sense. It means you've created enough buffer that you can respond to situations rather than just surviving them. Your phone breaks, and instead of having a complete meltdown about surviving without it for weeks until payday, you can decide between repair, replacement, or upgrade based on what makes the most sense. Your car needs work, and you can choose between different repair shops, consider whether repair or replacement is smarter, or even explore alternative transportation temporarily while you make thoughtful decisions. This financial flexibility represents true wealth because it gives you control over your circumstances rather than being controlled by them. When you have options, you can make decisions based on logic and long-term thinking oration, and immediate rather than days-pea survival needs. So there you have it, 9 concrete signs that you're probably doing better financially than you give yourself credit for. If you recognized yourself in even half of these indicators, congratulations. You're operating from a position of strength that millions of Americans simply don't have access to. The beautiful thing about recognizing these signs isn't just feeling better about your current situation. It's understanding that you already possess the habits and mindset that create long-term wealth. You're not starting from zero. You're not behind some imaginary financial timeline that social media has convinced you exists. You're actually ahead of the game in ways that compound over time. Remember, wealth isn't always loud, and financial success rarely makes for exciting social media content. Nobody's posting screenshots of their emergency fund or bragging about living below their means. But these quiet victories are what real financial health looks like. They're the foundation that everything else gets built on. Your financial journey doesn't need to look like anyone else's, and it definitely doesn't need to be Instagram worthy. It just needs to work for you. If this video helped you see your situation more clearly, make sure to subscribe, because we're just scratching the surface of building real, sustainable wealth. Hit that notification bell so you don't miss the strategies that can take you from financially stable to genuinely wealthy. Your future self will thank you for starting today.